Hey, homeschool friends. Today I thought we would talk about some easy steps you can take to plan your homeschool year. If you don't know me, I'm Trisha, and we are starting our 16th year of homeschooling. And in the early days of schooling, I would pick a day to start the year, usually around the first day of the public schools, and we would take breaks whenever, and we would finish whenever. And it worked. It was fine. Some years we would finish curriculum, some years we wouldn't. My kids learned, they were healthy, thriving. It was fine. It was also helpful that we were in a state that didn't require us to keep attendance. But as we moved and the kids got older and we added in other homeschool activities outside of our home, I had to get a little better about coming up with a better plan because that randomness wasn't working for us anymore. So this is going to be the first video in a little mini series that I'm going to do. First one, we'll talk about planning out your year. The next one, we will talk about laying out your weeks and how to balance it all and fit it all in. And then the last one, we'll talk about planning your homeschool days themselves with your teens. I like to start by looking at a full year calendar. This is a freebie I have, and I will leave the link for you down below. Obviously, use whatever calendar you want to use. You don't have to use this one. And if you buy a planner, it probably has a similar type of calendar inside of it. I start by marking off all the days that I know we're going to have off. The winter holiday or winter break, weekends, because we don't usually homeschool on the weekends. Any dates you have field trips that you know of, vacations, moves, new babies, anything that you already know about, go ahead and mark those days off now. Getting those things marked off now just means it's going to be so much easier, or that much easier, I should say, when you go to start planning out your weeks and your days. Once those things are marked off, I move to figure out what my beginning date and my end date is going to be. We generally finish our homeschool year in less than the typical 36 weeks, somewhere around 33 weeks. But I like to include a buffer. When my kids were little and more prone to sickness, that buffer helped us to still be able to meet or get done what we need to get done in the time. And in fact, when they were younger, I'd even kind of hedge more towards 185 or 190 days. Again, just that built-in buffer. I also like to be able to take off the occasional Friday without planning or take a half day here and there. And so building in that buffer, those little extra days, gives us a little more flexibility with that. Now, I like to roughly plan 80-ish days on each side of winter break. And for us, the dates of winter break themselves used to depend on my husband's schedule because he would get off with the Army. Now, last year and this year, I planned it more around my daughter's break from college. So from there, I like to break those days up using that winter break as kind of our semester end. I know some schools will do it in January, like public schools, but I don't want to come back from a long break and then still have to finish up a little bit, because to me that, I don't know, I just like to start fresh. And I as a teen wouldn't have wanted to have to think about what I just forgot over the last 2 weeks after break. So I start counting back and circle my approximate end and start date. Now that I have that approximate start and end date and I know some of the other days off, are there stretches in there that are really long and maybe you want to schedule some time off? Are there any other, like a long weekend maybe, that you weren't going to take, but maybe you'll go ahead and take that because it breaks up things naturally? For example, on Veterans Day weekend, our church has a youth event that they do every year. And so we always take that Friday off for the fun of it. Like, they have to leave early and it's just easier that way for us. And it gives them that downtime. And once you've figured that out, go ahead and adjust your start and end date accordingly. Now, when I'm actually considering our start date and end date, like the actual finalized ones or finalized start date, our end date is always flexible. I personally like to start with half days and on like a Wednesday. Starting on a Wednesday, two things. One, it allows us a quick win, like, whoo, done with week one. But it also allows me a chance if there is something glaringly wrong, I quickly can adjust it over the weekend. And I also like to start half days so we can start easing into things. I usually start with math and then I let them choose one or two subjects to start with. And we'll do those for a few days as well. So if the day that we should start is a Monday, I'm probably actually going to start the previous Tuesday or Wednesday. Or if it's on a Friday, I'm probably going to move it to the following Monday. Whatever it is, this is your chance to kind of build in the buffer or adjust however you want. And as you're looking at all of this, don't forget that the days that you have marked as school days are pretty flexible, because those days where you spend a long afternoon at the library or on the couch with a documentary and hot chocolate, those are all school days too. And the days when the kids are outside playing in the woods or creative play with neighbor friends, those can be school days as well, especially when they're young. There's so much they're learning from that creative play, the big muscle play. Don't discount those as not being school days, and don't take them away in favor of the school textbooks because they're learning as well. Now, once you have your start day and end day and you've got some vacations laid out and you've got some buffer built in, this is where you can now take this and start laying out what your weeks are going to look like. And that's where we're going to pick up in the next video.